Hey, everybody, this is episode 69 of Mastering Local Marketing, defending your small business marketing reputation. Have you ever lost sleep over what a former employee might say, or even worse, what they might do to affect the reputation of your small business? You're not alone. Maybe you've dealt with it already. Someone leaves and suddenly they're stirring up rumors, posting online, or even opening a competing shop right down the street. As a small business owner, these situations cut deep because they don't just threaten profits, they strike at your reputation and trust. The good news, there are ways to prepare, minimize the damage, and protect the business you've worked so hard to build. In this episode, we're breaking down 5 strategies every owner should know before an employee problem becomes a marketing crisis. You'll learn 1, how to control the narrative, 2, what business assets are most vulnerable, and 3, how not to, quote, react the way most do and how to react appropriately. And number 4, perhaps the most important, expect problems and have a plan in place. I'm Jim Diedlow. I own JED TV Sports Network and WJOB Radio. I sell advertising. And my studios, as you could hear in the background right now as a fire truck goes by, are right here on the campus of Purdue Northwest, where the digital marketing guru of the Midwest is a professor, and that is Matt Hansen. Matt, how are you?
I am good, Jim.
Isn't that crazy? Every time we start,
every single time.
It's a loud motorcycle or a
holiday
siren.
parade.
Remember the holiday parade? Yes. So we are literally 20 feet from, I think it's 42,000 cars and trucks a day. Yeah. That's a lot for a local road. It's actually US 41. And from time to time, that happens, and it's just part of the game. When we built these studios, the engineers said, we can't do that. It's going to be too much noise. Oh, the light's going to change. I'm like, I want to be right here where the action is. And there is some action. As a matter of fact, right when we're going on, we were dealing with the situation where we thought someone might have formerly worked here and got rid of some data for us, and we're trying to figure out how to do that and how to deal with it. Luckily, someone had made copies, and that is part of that plan. And I host a podcast with Guard Street Cybersecurity, and they're always talking about have a plan for, other things, data being stolen, data being tampered with, hostage, all that kind of stuff. But this same thing that goes with defending your small business, especially when someone leaves and isn't happy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this whole topic kind of stemmed from some of the past experiences that I've had with different clients that I've worked with where, an employee was kind of higher up in the company and something happened. You don't really know what happened. All of a sudden they quit or, just disappear, right? And many times what happens is they reappear later on somehow, some way. Is it a post that they put out there on social? Is it, one of your clients all of a sudden, like a major customer, disappears and stops coming to you? Like you'll start to see some of these things occurring. And I think if you're in business long enough, this will happen. Today, what we're kind of talking about is some of the steps that you need to take to make sure that when these things are going to occur, that it's not going to catch you off guard and that you'll actually have a plan in place.
Now, we have talked in, probably 30 episodes ago about dealing with negative comments, on your ratings and on your Yelp and Google and so forth. This is specifically talking about when an employee left and isn't happy and does have some tools. A dissatisfied employee has tools in the arsenal to affect your reputation, and we got to talk about that. One of the things, I guess, immediately, other than reputation and everything, sometimes you're right. When somebody leaves, they go start up their own shop, they could steal your clients, right? Or at least attempt to. That ever happened to you?
It has happened to me. It has happened for my clients. And it's fine, right? I get it. There's this whole human nature to it. But, in reality, you've got to have a plan for that. I mean, if one of your customers or one of your former employees steals one of your customers and that customer is 15, 20% of your business, that's a huge hit to the bottom line. So, when somebody leaves, you have to control the narrative, right? So if let's say you have a smaller agency or something like that, obviously you've got a bunch of different advertisers. When somebody leaves, control the narrative. Have the conversation with them. Matt is no longer with us. He decided to go off on his own and do some things. We wish him the best of luck. To cover what Matt was currently doing, we have these 3 people that are going to be taking over. They'll be in touch with you in the next 24 to 48 hours, right? So you're basically saying that somebody left. We're already well ahead of the game. We know how this is going to play out. We have people allocated to make sure that nothing gets dropped. And I literally had this conversation with somebody that walked in my office yesterday that 3 people had been let go from their social media team, and they were the only person left, and they're picking up all of the pieces, right? So there's all these things that were dropped, and really you have to think about that. They have access to information, to data, to all of these other, is there a customer list that they have? But just have a plan. I think that's the core foundation of what we're talking about today is have a plan, control the narrative, and, you'll be much better off.
How do you control the narrative?
Get out in front of it, right? So silence is deadly, right? If you just sit back and you don't really say anything and people are out there having, spreading gossip and all this other fun stuff, you got to realize, you need to get out there in front of it. Oh, Matt or Jim or whomever, right? I'm just throwing names out there, left the company. And with something like that, have the conversation with your customers. Yeah, we're really going to miss Jim. He was a great asset to the company, really provided this, that, all these different things. But, we have to move on and we're going to continue doing what we've done in the past, right? So it's a conversation. So if you hear gossip, you hear people talking about it, join in. I mean, don't ever say anything bad. Regardless, keep those feelings to yourself and what you're going to do, but get out in front of the narrative. So if you start to hear things, talk about them. The other thing, too, that I always say is don't put things in writing, right? So somebody starts to badmouth you out there on social media, do not jump in. And there's so many small businesses that I see do this, and I'm always kind of yelling at them, don't put it online, because people will, they see the fight happening right in front of them, and that is not what you want to do. Pull it offline. The most successful entrepreneurs I know never put anything in writing. It's always verbal. It's always a conversation, right?
Text too.
Yeah.
That's my wife is a judge, and she has trained me to, I think maybe when texting first got going, and for 5 or 10 years, I would be kind of open about my feelings or making a joke, and sometimes it was taken wrong and so forth. And then one day it's just don't text anything controversial.
Right.
And those come up in courtrooms all the time and so forth. But speaking of texts and emails, maybe you've given the employee a phone, or, certainly they have a company email, and, they have the socials and they have access to your website. You have to somehow secure those assets, without making it super uncomfortable. But really, I don't know if there's any way around to just say, hey, you're shut out of your email. We're going to, anything that gets emailed to you is going to get emailed to the other salesperson. It's going to get forwarded. But what should be the attitude about securing the assets?
Well, let me take you to a story with that. So I see consistently with social media where people they still have access to your social channels, and they are not part of the process anymore. They've either left the company, their former employees, their former agency, their former something, but they still have access to it, right? And it's funny because even people that I've worked with in the past, when we stop working together, I will tell them, please take me off. And if I go into my, my Meta Business Manager, I can still see former clients. I can still see things in there. And, it's always like, hey, we've got to get rid of this. I don't want to see this. I don't need access to any of this.
So just so everybody understands, going into Meta Business Manager is probably a good idea to do regularly anyways, because you probably forgot a lot of times.
Right. And, and again, keeping an eye on who has access to different things is always 100% something you should be doing, because I've heard multiple clients that somehow somebody got in there, they push everybody out, they change the admin rights, and then you don't have access to it anymore. And quite honestly, think about that in terms of you have somebody that does social for your company and then they leave. They can, if they're disgruntled enough, can push you out of Meta. They can take your admin rights off of the account and own the account. And quite honestly, there's no phone number that you're going to be calling Meta to say, I need my account back, right? So that's a long, drawn-out process of trying to prove that you're the owner and that the other person isn't the owner. So I guess what I'm saying is data and the access to data, you have to understand that if you have a disgruntled employee that is leaving, just make sure that every time somebody comes and goes, that you're checking all of those data points just to make sure. I'm not saying that the world is full of these people. I'm just saying I've seen it through my own clients, and it's been pretty ugly, and you have to deal with it, right? So from an agency side, from dealing with the client, we have to walk them through the process of, okay, now you need to go do this and this to get, all of this back. But I've had clients that have had 3-4 different Facebook profile pages through the years because they keep losing access to their page because of either disgruntled employees or people that have left that don't respond to any kind of emails or phone calls anymore, or even the fact that you didn't pay attention to who was gaining access and somebody somewhere else has gained access to it and taken your page.
So there's a balance here, though, in that, yes, somebody leaves. You go to the mill. We're right down the street from one of the largest refineries and several of the largest steel mills in America. And when it's time to go, they walk out with a full crew and they walk you out straight to your car and they follow you off, and you're just done. And there's no communication. You can get your stuff out of your locker and no going back to your tools, nothing. Just, it's all over. It's a little bit harsh. And if you're a company that has had somebody for a while, you kind of want to do it in a dignified manner.
Right.
So how do you balance the cut and dried, I got to protect the assets, with I want to treat people with dignity?
I think the biggest part of that is keeping a level head, right? So you are an owner, you are a marketing director, you are somebody that is in a position of authority, so you can't lose your cool, right? So many times we're presented with something that has happened, whether it's a customer or an employee that is blowing up at you, and you just want to kind of move the situation. Many times people will start to get into that verbal argument and all of those types of things. Your biggest job is to de-escalate it, right? So bring it back down. Realize that you have to keep your company at a certain level of professionalism. And why do I say it? Why are we talking about that in mastering marketing? It is, your reputation is your marketing. So as soon as your reputation takes a hit, right? Think of it as a boat, right? So we put a boat out there on Lake Michigan, and as soon as you hit, let's say, a rock somewhere, and it puts a small little hole in that boat, if you don't pay attention to that, what's going to happen? It's slowly going to sink the boat. So the boat is your reputation. So if you have people out there that are literally ex-employees that are starting to say things and you don't nip it in the bud, or you don't just have a conversation with them and just say, listen, I agree, let's agree to disagree. I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm not here to ruin your life. I want to make sure that you have the opportunities to go to that next step. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you. It's just not going to work here. most people don't respond that way, right? It's a blown up process, and I can name tons and tons of names that will do that, right? And I know it's a personality thing. Some people are a little bit more hot-headed than others. I was laughing the other day because my daughter she's driving now, and she's like, "Why are people honking so much anymore?" I go, "Maybe it's your driving," but I think society as a whole, we're getting that a little bit more hot-headed, a little less passive. And when you're a business owner, you've got to realize that whatever you do that comes back in a negative manner can be positioned against you, whether it's an ex-employee or it's even your competitors, because the competitors can come back and say, this is who you want to deal with. Do you see the argument that they're going on back and forth? They put it out there publicly. So don't do that. Reputation is key. It's that perception of who you are. And once you kill your perception, you can kill that in a matter of minutes, and it's something that you've built up over 10 years.
One way to kill it is to respond negatively to somebody else's negative posts about you. What do you do when that happens? And it will.
Yeah, well, that happened I would say about 6 months ago, for a client that I was working with, and they were off, and this customer was, or not customer, this employee was basically out there bad mouthing, and it was funny because it was on a Facebook group, it was buried, right? Like it was a large Facebook group, but they were commenting on a post, right? And quite honestly, they could jump back in there and say, well, let me tell you the real story of what's going on here, because nobody ever shares the other side of it, right? It doesn't share the countless issues that the customer or the employee has had, right?
Like falling asleep or the booze or whatever it might be.
There's two sides to every story, right? So instead of starting that and taking a smoldering little flame and then throwing gasoline on it, you just let it go, right? You don't post in that group to keep it going. Nothing's going to be solved by putting that argument out there, and quite honestly, nothing ever developed from it, right? Nobody ever came and said, oh, I saw your post or any like that. Just don't do that. Don't get in a fight online, because if you need to talk to that employee, and I keep saying customer as well, because I want you to realize like customers can do this as well. Don't put it in a digital format. Don't put it out there for the world to see the fight. If it's meaningful or if it's causing any damage, have a conversation with that employee, that ex-employee or that ex-customer, because it's easier to control that narrative in an audio version of it, face-to-face or whatever it may be, than it is to try and get a text or a post that you put out there in a Facebook group to come down. I mean, those are out there forever, and you're going to see it.
Finally, someone's going to leave, and they're going to try to take your business or do it. Mm-hmm. I was on a sales call yesterday, and a guy is telling me that he was in a bar talking about the business idea, which was streaming locally, and the bartender was there, was listening, and wound up going and starting up that business.
Oh, wow.
That can also happen with former employees, and they do leave you, and they're like, I'm going to do this myself. What do you do then?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Somebody that works for you is going to go compete with you at some point. Just know that that's going to happen, right? So I think the biggest thing is good for them. Good for them that they're going to start a business. So when we had the home decor shop, we had somebody that worked for us, and they kind of got a little disgruntled over some of the things that were going on. And, we didn't fight with them over it. We were like, this is just how it's going to be here. They went and started their own shop, right, in the general same vicinity, which is fine. And we encouraged that. We said, you know what, you've got your own unique style. I think you're going to do well. Good luck. We'll send people over to you. Not a problem. I mean, you de-escalate the situation. They're going to compete, but there's enough dollars out there to support all businesses, right? So I think most people think money is in short supply. Money is not in short supply. I will tell you that you can make a business out of anything and get money coming in the door. People will buy just about anything, and there is no shortage of customers out there. So if somebody's going to leave and go on and do something that's very similar to you, that's fine. And then, from an agency perspective, let's say, somebody leaves the agency and they want to go start their own agency and they start trying to pick off your current customers. That's on you if they actually succeed doing that, because you don't have such a good relationship with your customers that they're now jumping ship to go with somebody that has left your company. So that's on you. That's a relationship. They had a better relationship with the person that's left than the person that owned the business.
This is episode 69 of Defending Your Small Business Marketing Reputation. Look in the show notes. Please go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube. You can watch this thing. Help us get to 10 subscribers. That's a joke. You ever listen to some of these other podcasts and they go, help us get to 500,000 subscribers? No, help us get to 10.
Oh, well, we've definitely got 10 on the podcast.
I know
so,
that.
We're good there.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
He's Matt Hansen. I'm Jed. And until next time, we will see you later.